Hi, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful little chat I'm going to have with artist Jeanette MacDonald from the Pacific Northwest in Canada. It's got to be really gorgeous up there, I'm sure. I've seen some pictures from the Vancouver area and so many forests and trees. And
Yeah,
that must be kind of a great inspiration for you, right?
oh, for sure. Yeah, that's a huge inspiration for me. I live in, we've got an acre of forest right behind us. I don't know if you can.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm outside, and yeah, so it's, and then we're a 5-minute walk to the Pacific Ocean too. So it's, yeah, and that's a huge inspiration for me as well.
Yes, yes. You are a mixed media artist, and I know you love to sail and go on the water, so you probably pick inspiration for wherever you are. And
yeah, as a matter of fact, I started my mixed media art while we were living on our boat for 2 years. Yeah, I did a workshop because I'd always painted, but I did a workshop with a fellow by the name of Nick Bantock, and he's quite a famous artist and writer. And
I know this book, yes.
Yeah, Griffin and Sabine trilogy. The Trickster's Hat?
Yeah, the Trickster's Hat.
Okay, yeah, the Trickster's Hat is like a kind of like his course in a book. So he actually bought our house when we were living in Victoria, and I became friends with him, and he was doing a workshop, and it was mixed media, and I'd never done that before. So he was, and when we sold our house, we moved on to the boat. So I did his course, and then I started painting mixed media on the boat, which was really an interesting experience.
That's a wonderful way to start, right?
Yeah, it was, because one of the things that I got out of Nick's course that I never had before was that art, and I think I even took it to another level than he did. Art's kind of like anything goes, and up until that point, I'm a real rule person. If someone tells me this is a rule, I've listened to it, and and that was kind of like the point where I let go of that, and that was really helpful to me. I think that that's one of the biggest blessings that I've gotten from the mixed media, from his course.
Yeah, I can understand that. I remember seeing your art way back in probably 2010. Maybe I had an old art blog that I had interviewed you because I loved your art so much, and I followed your involvement over the years. So, but I was interested to know if you were interested in art before you started with the Nick Bantock and that inspiration. Did you have interest in art as a child and growing up, or?
Yeah, that's my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always had an interest in art. I think that, well, we're creative beings, and it's just like, it's what we're made to do, right? And it's just a matter of whether you find out that or not, like about yourself, that you can be creative, and whatever kind of turns your crank is like, that's your thing, your place to start. Whatever intrigues you or inspires you. But some people don't know that. And so, and so for me, I started off as a child, and I had a kind of a little experience in grade 1 where it could have been a potential fail as far as being creative in painting, because I'd drawn a house as a triangle, and the kids around me were making fun of me, and then my teacher said, "Oh, were you drawing an A-frame like the one on the hill?" And I wasn't, but I went with that, and it was like she saved me, literally, because I felt so humiliated, and this is what, I don't know, like why I have such a passion for the idea that we're all, rather than being artists, we're all creatives.
Yes, I love that expression. It is all inclusive,
Yeah, all inclusive. Yeah.
Inclusive. So yes. So how did you actually find out about art journaling in itself? I know you're a guest teacher for our September art journal prompts in my free 2017 art journaling journey. So everything is about art journaling in that course pretty much. But can you tell me a little bit about how you got into art journaling in particular?
I think that you had a big part of that.
Oh,
I really, I mean, I guess I'd seen art journal pages come across this, you know, Facebook, and because I've connected with a lot of artists, but I'd never really thought about doing an art journal. And yours came up, and you had asked me, and so I just went, okay, I'm gonna try that out. So that's when I created my book, or made my little art journal book. And I just got into it because I'm kind of like that. Like, if you give me an idea, then I like to figure out how to do it. You know, I like challenges, and so yeah, you played a big part in that. And then my friend Violette Clark, she lives locally, and she's also another person who's in the art world. You know, like connected with all of us, and she came over and showed me her art journaling, and that was like off in a whole different area, and yours is off, and you know, like you do stuff that's different, and everybody else does stuff that's different, and I liked that. But we could all do our own thing,
yes,
and express ourselves in like in a book, you know, like I do. I mean, I write every morning, but I, you know, hadn't considered that I would journal and paint my, you know, what I'm going through in my life. So it was cool. Yeah, you did that.
I've read some of your journaling. It is really wonderful, and I know you wrote some children's books, or
yeah, I wrote just one. Yeah, and illustrated it, and I published that a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And yeah, that's a vulnerable experience. I don't know why. I still feel a little bit nervous about that little book, you know, and maybe a little critical of myself. So I guess that's it, you know, it's about a childhood experience, and maybe it touches that fear and my inner child, you know, about exposing myself artistically. And you know, because some of it, like I painted the pictures back in, I think it was 2006 or 5 or something like that, and in watercolor, and then I think, oh, maybe they're so immature or whatever, you know, like just that critic that we have in us. Yeah, but I loved the book. I do. I love the story.
So it's available to buy on Amazon?
It is, yeah.
And what's the title?
Shoo 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 Shalala, which is it's a lullaby by my dad used to sing us when we were kids, and it was Wilf Carter is the artist name, and I think he had another name that was like more of a something Slim. It was more of a cowboy name that got picked up, and but this is a long time ago, and he's from Alberta, Canada. Anyways, so my book is kind of like based on the lullaby, but there's another story in there about it, my experience. So I had to get permission from the family of Wilf Carter to use his lyrics in it. And I was able to track down his daughter, who's like, she's got great grandchildren now, his daughter, and get permission to use it. And then she actually bought several of the books for her great grandchildren, and so that was kind of an honor.
I will put the link to the
book
under the video when it goes up on YouTube. So.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Your husband is photobombing us. So.
Are you photobombing us?
So what are the best elements about your art journaling as far as little tips and tricks that you use?
The best elements?
I'm thinking more visual, you know, than
visual.
Emotional.
Yeah, I think that the best elements are that I just do it, you know, like whatever's inspiring me in the moment, you know, as far as mixed media goes. Some of them are very acrylic. Some of them are collage. A lot of them are collage. Some have words, you know, so I'm just whatever I'm feeling at the moment. But, you know, being that the papers are acrylic and oil, that kind of limits me to that medium, you know. So, I mean, it would be a whole different experience to do one in watercolor.
Yeah, I haven't really dared to try that so much because
yeah,
you make an error, you can't fix it. So
Hmm.
that might be the next
Well, yeah,
frontier.
yeah. Well, I think, okay, so that's one of the things that I picked up from Violette. So in this one on this page, um, some of these, like this one and this one, are cut off of just these two, I think, are cut off of old art that I've done, that I've made prints of. And that was her thing that she does. She takes these faces that she's done, but she makes them bigger and puts them on cardstock and then glues them on there, and does watercolor pens and stuff on the background. So it's kind of, there's so many avenues you can go with that.
True. I do love her art too. It's
I love
really
you, and she's a
beautiful.
great person too. She's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
lovely.
she really is. So what do you suggest people do for inspiration?
Um, I'm just inspired by my feelings where I'm at the time. But I'm a really feeling person, and and like I wrote in my prompts, I'm a fairly sensitive person. So when I'm going through something, I work it out on there, and that takes me in all different places, or different avenues. Working it out through art. Yeah, so I just, yeah, for inspiration, I would say, well, I mean, it is a journal, so it's talking about you and how you're feeling, and your journey and your experience and process. So that's where I get my inspiration from, and then everything around me, my life. And it's not all like heavy stuff. Sometimes it's like funny and silly stuff, and yeah, but I can be a little heady. I know that about myself.
Well, I found it deep and inspiring. I tend to be more on kind of surface, just uh, I don't think so much about what I create. I just do
Hmm.
something
Yeah, and I
moment.
love that. Yeah, that's nice.
But at the same time, you want to portray a deeper effect, maybe. So
Hmm.
I'm working on that. But
Hmm. Well, I know my art that I create is never for anybody else.
yeah,
I don't know what other people think of it. I don't know, and of course, there's things that I'm inspired about in other people's art that inspires me too, because I mean, no idea is original. They're all borrowed, and but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Um,
well, about depth. We were talking about like depth versus just doing surface stuff in the moment.
Oh yeah, about not doing art for other people,
Yeah,
not doing art to please other people. And sometimes I go, okay, of course I have that part in me that would like to please other people with my art too. But it's got to please me, and it's got to represent me honestly and authentically, you know. But yeah, I'm influenced by things I love, and as I go along too.
but that's what make it so good, so authentic and inspiring, actually, to absorb and just look at and read what you write about it. So
Mhm.
you're definitely doing the right thing.
Oh, well,
In
thank you,
my
Maria. I love
opinion.
what you do too.
Thank
Thank
you. What do you have any suggestions for artists when they feel stuck?
Well, right now I'm going through a bit of a lapse, and I don't want to call it being stuck, but sometimes life happens and you got a lot going on and you just can't get to art. And so I tend to take these things, like I said earlier, about being someone who follows the rules. So if I can't do things the way I think that they're supposed to be done, I can get hard on myself. And I think that that's the thing about not getting stuck, is to just cut yourself some slack, allow yourself to deal with life as it shows up, and just realize that there aren't really any rules.
Right.
Because if you get too heavy on yourself, you're not going to get back to it. And I know right now, for me, I have all these ideas about doing art, and I'm packing, and I'm actually going to be renovating the little house we're moving into. So I have a lot in my head right now, and making art, it's just not going to happen right now.
Right, right. Yeah, that's
I beat myself up. You know, then I have this fear that I won't get back to it, and I love it. So
right. Yeah, it's everything in its own time.
yeah, and just cutting yourself slack, being kind to yourself, and loving yourself, and remembering that this is a process to show you love yourself, not that you, you know, not to beat yourself up. We've all had enough of that.
Oh yeah, for several lifetimes, let's say.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really about self-love,
Hmm.
everything, forgiveness. So,
Hmm.
so if you could meet an artist, dead or alive, who would you like to meet?
Well, that one's easy for me because I just love Frida Kahlo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
what I love about her is that she was a deeply feeling person, and strong at the same time, and that she didn't conform to social norms, and I think that that's one of the things that inspires me the most.
Yes.
I love it when you say, okay, when you can let your facial hair grow and say and still be beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, because I especially us women, we seem to feel like we have to be
Perfect.
yeah, where men don't, you know.
Right.
So
Did you see the movie?
pardon me?
Follow. There was a movie that made.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually a good movie. I liked
Yeah,
it.
very good. Very good.
Yeah.
She was fantastic. I think she's like a forerunner of all women's progress as far as expression and
Hmm.
self-confidence and standing on your own
Hmm.
in your own power. Like Georgia O'Keeffe is.
I know. I was just going to say Georgia O'Keeffe. Yeah, is very similar, right? And
Yeah.
so unique. Not trying to fit into a box that's already been built, but she's built her own box, and I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it too.
Yeah. But it takes courage. It takes courage to be unique and to put your stuff out there when nobody else is doing that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and the time period that they lived in too, that wasn't
Yeah.
friendly toward women. You know,
Right. Yeah. So she is very courageous.
they really forged their own way. It's
Yeah.
very admirable, and it's good to have heroes.
For sure.
Yes. So, what are your favorite tools? I know we covered a little bit about, but favorite tools like brushes, markers.
Oh, I brought these up because this is one of my favorite tools that I use a lot. My jelly rolls.
Oh yeah.
So
Love those.
yeah, I mean I use those for embellishing.
You have all the colors.
I have a lot of colors. Yeah, I have a little collection of them. But some of them, you know, like I'm impatient, so I get paint on some of them, and that's not very good because then I don't let the paint dry before I use them.
Oh, yeah, I think we're all guilty of that. I have a heat gun, but I still get impatient.
Oh, okay, yeah, I could probably stand to use that.
Yes. Well, I want to talk just a little bit about the spiritual aspects of your art, and if you could just, I know you explained about expressing yourself through your emotions and how that has evolved, but do you feel more connected to, say, the universe at large, or the God within when you work on your art?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've done this little process for quite a long time where I get up in the morning and I journal and then I read books, and I'm a fan of Emmett Fox. He's one of my favorites, and then I've had some other ones since then. But he was like what do they call it? A New Thought minister.
Yeah, science of mind, I think.
Well, yeah, I think he had something to do with Science of Mind, but I've also read Science of Mind and that with Ernest Holmes, and love that too.
Oh yeah, that was Ernest.
All inclusive again, right? It's that all inclusiveness that, and it's about love, and it's not about punishment. And so, because that kind of spirituality doesn't connect with me at all.
No.
You know, I think that we're all inherently flawed in some ways, you know, and we're all spectrums, and we've been made this way. It makes up the whole of us. And so, like with Science of Mind, it's loving, yeah. And Emmett Fox, you know, he's so beautiful. So I just wrote a book, and I haven't published it yet. I'm just, you know, I've got everything. I even have like an endorsement by one of my favorite authors at Hay House. She's written a thing for the back of it, and I still haven't published it. And I'm not sure what my holdback is right now, but it's called Lady and the Fox, and it was actually inspired by my readings with Emmett Fox and journaling prompts, and discovering about ourselves and learning to love ourselves, and you know, like all of the stuff that you're talking about, forgiveness and stuff like that, so that we can live a happier life, you know. Yes. Especially being a sensitive soul. But my whole belief, if I could wrap it up into one thing, it's about inclusiveness and acceptance, you know. Yeah, and I don't know. There's a huge amount of self-accountability in it too. Being honest with myself, you know, because I can get hurt and deceive myself from that hurt, you know. So that's one of the things that I'm working on, and I worked through that a lot in my journal, my art journal.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, I find too that I tend to work a lot through my art journal, just many spreads that I don't really care about, but I got to express some feeling I had at the time, and some sort of peace with the situation, and then you kind of move on from there. So as I find that if I go back into my journal and look at old pages, sometimes I have some insight to what was going on, or like even the symbols I use or doodles, and you can see from the subconscious, which I really love that aspect of art journaling. And then I love color and shape and all the things. The mixed media, I love to glue the papers and old music scores and things.
Yeah, I love that too.
I think that's the child in us.
Well, and I was going to say too, you know, another reason we do this thing isn't always to think. It's to you know, to have some relief from our thinking. Is to just be in play, like just to be in doing it instead of like thinking about it, thinking about everything that's going on. I know for me, a lot of times I've had something going on and I get into it. It takes me a bit. It's when especially if I'm feeling agitated or whatnot. But when I get into it, then I get some relief from it, because you know, nothing else. It's kind of like everything around me disappears, and I get focused on it.
Time disappears. Yes.
Yeah, time disappears. Yeah.
Sometimes it's good also when you feel like you're wrong or something is confronting you, instead of running away from it, to really face it and maybe put the problem into the art and see what comes up. Or everything with the ugly and the bad, you know, like that's part of who we are too. Like you said, we're always a project in becoming more of who we are, and I think art really helps us through that.
Oh, for sure. You know what, I swear, and I've said this to my husband, I've had more therapy through doing art than I could ever have in a lifetime. And I've called my art, my writing, my therapist.
Yes.
I get to see myself and go, okay, yeah, now I get what I'm going through and what that's all about.
That's great. That's something that's so special about you. I find that you're always really facing everything head on, honestly, and you actually manage to capture the stuff in the words or in the expressions of the characters on your pages. What you're working on shows up in your art in a very inspiring way, because we're all the same.
We're all the same. Yeah. And I mean, that's a real big learning for me. It's a relief to know it.
Yes.
You know, that we're all the same.
And
You're
that's
going
what,
through stuff, and someone out there doesn't know that other people feel that way. And so when you share your art, that helps them, because then all of a sudden they realize they're not alone. And people can make like, you know, like they can see a face like yours, which is out there, and they can think, oh, she doesn't have any problems, she's got it all together, and they can create all kinds of stories. So then when you share that and you say, okay, I have these struggles too, then that's service work. You know, that's helping people out there to realize, you know, I mean, we can all try and portray perfection, but no one gets anything out of it. It's just, you know, but when you're vulnerable and you share your struggles, that helps people.
That is your absolute strength, in my opinion. If you have everything in your art is just very honest. I feel I struggle somewhat with that, because you get into styles and, you know, different expression, but again, work in progress, and you keep going more authentic with every spread that comes along.
Well, and you don't want to, I mean, you want to be careful too, and you want to take care of yourself too, right? You don't want to go out there and just share everything if you're not ready to share that thing, you know, to be someone who shares, you know, like you just want to be ready for it. So, I mean, and safe.
Yes.
Know? I mean, I've gotten to the point where I don't care that if, you know, if someone knows I'm not perfect.
Right.
I mean, it's just ridiculous to even say that, because there is no perfection. No one is perfect. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay. It's actually, there's freedom in that.
Yes.
But you want to be careful. Yeah. And, you know, if you're not ready and you put that out there, and then someone demolishes you because they say something about you, and you're not ready to go, yeah, okay, well, we all are like that, right?
Yes.
But it could actually stunt your creative efforts. So yeah, I just think that it's good to be careful.
That's a good point. That really is a good point. So let me see here. So I had like, so what would you suggest as a starting point for new artists?
Well, and it's tough. It's tough to start, because I find that what keeps new people from starting art is they look at art that has been, that someone's been doing a long time, and they go, I want to paint like that. And they don't realize that that person had to paint at square one too. So they had, you know, so be prepared. You know, if there's one thing I read in The Artist's Way, because I've done it a couple of times, is that there was a little quote at the side of the page, and it said, in order to paint something well, you first have to be willing to paint it poorly.
Yes.
So that would be my suggestion to new artists. Be prepared to not be able to know how to do something that you haven't done before, and to start at the beginning, you know. Yes. And to not beat yourself up because you don't know how to do it, because everybody who goes on to do something well at one time didn't know how to do it.
Absolutely, that's really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that if you have any last comment about people, artists that are struggling, you know, beginners need to begin, but then you have the struggles.
Yeah, the struggle is, okay, so two things. One is, it's the doing. It's always in the doing. It's not in, it's like sitting down and starting. Just start. The other thing is if you've got a lot going on in your life and you don't have a lot of energy to be creative, is to cut yourself slack, and to accept that and love yourself enough to give yourself the space to deal with what you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I have to do right now. I just have to love myself enough to give myself the space to deal with what I've got on my plate.
Right. And that will be maybe an experience that in your next time you have time to sit down, you're going to be like a new person. You have new experiences, new situations, and you come fresh to the page. And so it's always evolving, and we keep, as artists, it never ends. So once we get started, and and enjoying the process, then we can just move forward with more confidence, even if
Well, and
sometimes.
I'm always changing too. I don't like to get stuck in one thing. So, you know, I've got ideas about paper clay. I still want to do that. Oh, and by the way, did you see my little necklace? Can you see it?
Oh, yes, yes.
It's Larimar. Remember?
Oh, yes.
But anyways, yeah, I thought of you, and I actually had it on. Do you remember when I shared that stone?
Yes.
It wasn't Larimar, and it wasn't. Yeah, so you were right. But yeah, I have all sorts of things I want to do, and it's not necessarily just painting. You know, the paper clay stuff. I've done interior design, so I'm excited about the creative aspects of doing my house. There's always opportunities to be creative and to try new things. And like Barry said, okay, so you're taking a little break right now. My guess is that when you get back to it, the art aspect, you will do something different, because that's what you do.
Yeah, no, it's lots of wisdom in that.
Yeah, and it's exciting.
But that helps to grow every aspect of the creativity. You know, I do polymer clay mosaics, and that inspires me then to go back to art journaling and painting.
Yeah.
So it all comes from the same.
I've done all of them at the same time too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when one doesn't work, try something else, right?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you remember, I sewed those dolls and painted their faces.
Yes, I love those. So.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always you get an idea, and it's, you know, like it's there's so many things like texture, fabric. You know, I have this idea that I'd like to take wood rounds and do paper clay, like animal heads on it, like rhinoceroses and giraffes, and make them really whimsical and sweet.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that go through our head, and you just got to pick up one of them and go with it, and sit down and do it.
And sit down and do it. That's the whole thing there, to sit down and actually do it.
I don't know how many times I've thought, I can't do this when I'm painting. I can't do this, or even when I'm writing, you know, like I can't do this. Even the prompts for September, because I had all that stuff. I can't do this, and I sat down and I did it. It's amazing what we can do. We just sit down.
We just ignore the naysayer and just get to it.
Get to it, yeah.
Yes. Well, I really enjoyed our chat here. That was just fabulous, and I will put the links at the end. And I really, really enjoyed it. Finally, meet you virtually, face to face.
I know, it's so lovely.
Yes. So I thank you very, very much for doing this for my group, and I will see you online on the ethers, as they say.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for doing this group. It's such I mean, talk about service work. I believe that's service work. So thanks, Maria, and I really enjoyed it. It was fun after all this time to catch up this way.
Really, really, yes. Yeah. Okay, bye.
And thanks to everyone else too.
Yes, thank you everybody, and to viewers who watched this far. I hope you got inspired. So, well, goodbye.
Goodbye. We'll talk to you later.
Yes.